I have talked about Luzardo a lot this year. The struggles in May and June were documented. 12 earned runs against the Blue Jays, or against the Brewers, 8 earned runs against the Blue Jays. There's no question about it that Jesus Luzardo hit a serious, it wasn't a bump in the road, it was like a roadblock. He hit a brick wall in the later portions of May and into June. I think he's recovered nicely, though, and has pitched well for a majority of the season. And in fact, if you take those 2 starts, now I get it, you can't take starts out of the equation. Your numbers are what you are. Like, right, the ball don't lie, numbers say who they are, who we thought they are, whatever cliche you want to use. But those 2 starts were so bad that it makes Jesus Luzardo feel like he's having a worse season than he actually is. Because again, you look at a 4.01 ERA, it's nothing to write home about. That's a 3rd starter, a 4th starter. It's fine. But those 2 starts, 20 of his 72 earned runs came in those 2 starts. Find me another starting pitcher who is about to make his 30th start of the year, where 28% of his earned runs that he's given up in an entire season have come in 2 starts. I promise you can't do it. Maybe a guy who's made 4 or 5, but not for 30 starts. Jesus Luzardo has made 29 starts this year. The start that he's presumably going to make on either Thursday or Friday will be his 30th start of the season. Those 2 starts were so horrendously bad that everything else looks bad. Feels like he's not tipping his pitches anymore. Feels like he's attacking the zone. He's going back to that guy that was using sweeper against the lefty, slider against the righty, was just he's able to pound the zone with the fastball. Command's been much better. His walk numbers have come down over his last couple of starts, with the exception, of course, against the Marlins this past weekend. He did walk 4, but he has 3 or less walks in every start in August. He hasn't had 4 walks in a start before this past weekend since July 23rd. But you can see, like, when he pounds the strike zone and throws a good percentage of his pitches for strikes, he gets deep into games. He's giving you 6. He's giving you 6 2/3. He's getting into the 7th pretty consistently. And in fact, here are Jesus Luzardo's numbers for the entirety of the season. If you take those 2 starts out of the equation, he's a much different pitcher. He's thrown 161 2/3 innings. He still is on pace for well over 200 strikeouts. He's going to get there. The Phillies, before Zack Wheeler was shut down for the season, were on pace for 3 starting pitchers to get to 200 strikeouts. That's nuts to me. Luzardo's going to crack that. Sanchez probably will get there. The walks, yes, at times they get concerning. When his command falters, that's where you see him get into trouble because he has to pitch back into the zone, right? The whip is at 1.3 because of the hits allowed at 153, but when he's on and you can see him limit the walks, he's a much different pitcher. But that number at the bottom there tells you why I have confidence in him. In his 29 starts this year, he has 17 in which he's gone at least 6 innings pitched and he's given up 3 earned runs or fewer. 17 of 29 have fit that criteria. To take it a step further, if you take out those 20 earned runs that you've given up that we talked about, over 27 starts this year, he's pitched to a 3.01 ERA over 155 innings. It's literally an entire earned run different based on just 2 starts. It changes the entire complexity of his season. He goes from a guy who's been okay numerically to a guy who's been incredible numerically. If you take out those 2 starts, he still has 184 strikeouts in 155 innings pitched. That's 1.19 strikeouts per innings pitched. His whip, if you take out those 2 games, 183 base runners in 184 innings. It's a sub-1 whip outside of just 2 starts. We're not talking about 5, 6, 7. We're talking about literally 2 starts that have damned his season numbers across the board. That's how good Jesus Luzardo has been for almost the entire year. I've said this routinely. I think Jesus Luzardo's had 5 bad starts all year. And I can break it down into 3 bad and 2 horrendous. But I think of the other 24 starts, I'd say 22 of them were good plus. And you can see by that number, 17 have been quality outings. That to me is enough for a guy that I can trust into the postseason. He's a guy who, yes, his floor might be a little bit lower. And it's why I would go Sanchez, Ranger, Luzardo. But when he's on, that ceiling is enormous. The strikeout numbers, you saw them over this past weekend. And yeah, I get it, right? He walked 4 guys. He gave up 2 earned runs. 8 strikeouts over 6. Over the last, basically the entirety of the season. Let's just go back really quickly. We'll do this on the fly. Strikeout games of 7 or more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 starts of 7 or more strikeouts. The stuff is legit. The sweeper's nasty. The slider is that tight, like gyro spiral. It doesn't have a ton of movement, but it's late breaker and it's heavy. And he uses that against the righties. But the sweeper against the lefties is nasty. And that power fastball changeup combo against the righties is just as good when it's on. When this guy's on and all 4 pitches are working, he becomes nearly unhittable. Again, the ceiling and the floor have a pretty large gap. The floor can be questionable at times, but I think the ceiling is enormous. And that's why heading into the postseason, and yeah, I know you got to go lefty, 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 and that sucks. But it's 3 lefties that I feel good. I feel great about Sanchez. I feel really good about Ranger. And I feel good about Jesus Luzardo. Find me another starting rotation that has lost its best pitcher, and you can still say that. Think about it, right? Think about some of the teams heading into the postseason and where they would be without their ace. How good would their rotation stack up? What happens if Matthew Boyd were unavailable to pitch in the postseason for the Cubs? Wouldn't love that, right? I still like Imanaga, and Cade Horton's been good, but after that, you've got to go to Tyone or whomever, and you don't want that, right? I think about the Dodgers. They've had a slew of injuries. Yoshinobu Yamamoto's been great pretty much all year. What happens if he were not able to pitch? That would be a detriment to them, right? I don't know what the Mets are going to do, right? They might start 3 rookies in the postseason, but my point is, like, if they lose David Peterson, that sucks for them. Find a team whose starter, their ace of their staff, went down and is going to miss the postseason, and you still feel good about 3 starters. That's why you still should feel confident about the Phillies heading into the postseason. Yeah, losing Wheeler is a huge blow. Trey Turner, if he's out for a foreseeable amount of time, big blow. But this team can still win based on its starting pitching and the back end of its bullpen being as good as you hope it is.